Good morning, everybody. Small business owner, Republican conservative candidate for Wisconsin Governor Jonathan Wichmann is my very special guest today, Thursday, March 25th, 2021. Special thank you to Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, who once again joined me on Tuesday for another one of our Positive Tuesday shows with Ben and Fitzy. Next Thursday, so a week from today, I will be chatting with local businessman and entrepreneur Tim Fry. But today, I'm happy to welcome in and be chatting with, for the first time on our show, Mr. Jonathan Wichmann. Jonathan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah. And by the way, I should have asked you before we went live, is Jonathan or how do you usually, how do you like to be called, I guess?
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Yeah. Nice. So there's a lot I want to get to with you, chat about. Obviously, first time on, we always want to make sure we give you a chance. Let's get to know you a little bit. Really, that's kind of a lot of this is getting to know you as the person, and then getting some of your candidacy, the reasons for doing that, what issues are you seeing. But yesterday, we put up a 15 things you might not know about me, Jonathan Wichmann, and I wanted to ask you about one of those. But before even that, I went to your wichmannforgovernor.com website. And under your About section, there's a stupid cool looking picture of you, black and white, looking off all, I'm determined, and you roll up your sleeves or something. It's really cool looking. But you have this awesome watch, and I zoomed in and I couldn't see what it was. What watch was that? Do you recall that photo, and what watch is that?
Yeah, it was nothing super fancy. It's just a Seiko. I stick with Seiko brand, some other ones. Rolex, I know we aspire to Rolex, but I can't justify spending $10,000 to $12,000 on a watch.
Well, it looked awesome. Find out the model and send it to me. And yeah, you get ready for a lot of hard-hitting questions like that during this show. So
thank you for having me on, though. You'd be surprised, the media blackout I'm dealing with is insane. So thank you for being a source of media to bring me on and talk about the campaign. It's strange because we're adding thousands of people a week to the campaign, and this last month I've reached 1 million people with my post, on Facebook. So it's not like I'm small time here anymore.
Yeah. So okay, let's get right into that right away. Media blackout. What are you talking about?
The mainstream fake news, as we like to call them, and they are. Anyone watches the majority of news that spins stuff. They won't cover me. Still trying to break into some conservative talk radio. Been some resistance there as well. Not sure why. I've been really active, in the fight against the lockdowns and joint resolution, number 3 to get Tony Evers' illegal mandates knocked down. I've been in the fight, so I thought that would, mean something to the conservative movement, but still no airtime yet. So we're working on it.
Well, we've asked Tony Evers to come on, and he hasn't responded yet either. So we have the opposite problem. So I kind of want to keep on that topic of media blackout. You said you don't really know why. You must have some guesses.
Well, yeah, I do actually. So when it comes to mainstream media like Fox and TMJ and all these other ones, right? The reason is because I spent a good amount of time creating videos and podcasts talking about real issues, things that we'll use the title the elite or the ruling class don't really want the little guy to know about, right? The real truth. My whole mission in running for governor is to wake people up and bring awareness to what's been holding them down. And this applies to both Republicans and Democrats. So the media doesn't want to even say my name, because in doing so, whether they say good or bad, just my name will get people to come Google me, find my website, and get into all my material and learn the truth. So that all these little sound clip bites that the media is saying or lying about, people will be immune to it, because I don't believe that. I know the truth because Jonathan Wichmann took me step by step, showing me the way.
Yeah, we want to follow up on that one a little bit. Real quick, and actually we have, I think it's kind of a question, but man, we're already getting into this. I still want to get into your bio, so people get to know you a little bit, but man, we already have a question here, legalized cannabis. Where are you on that?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, I am pro-cannabis. I probably will be the only Republican candidate that is pro-cannabis. I really want to start with medical first, and I have a certain plan to roll it out that really will help the small business guy, win from this, right? We are going to do general use eventually, but I want to have a good plan to figure that out. There's a lot of hiccups to think through, from legal liability, working heavy machinery. How do we know that's fully out of your system, right? So I'm not against general use, but medical first. until I'm comfortable that we have a solid plan that's safe, then we'll do general use as well.
Do you think that Republicans are getting to the point, just universally, not just candidates running for something, but then again, even if you're in office, you're always running for re-election. Is this one of those things that you kind of look at Republicans as a whole and say, man, you guys got to get on board with this? Because if you don't, they're not going to keep voting you in.
With cannabis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're long overdue. I think the years of disinformation coming down from the federal government and FBI. First of all, CIA does drug running all day long. We've already seen history of that through Arkansas and when Bill Clinton was governor down there, right? Cocaine and all this stuff. So the government is not like innocent when it comes to drugs. But for some reason, they picked this plant called cannabis, and they've done this whole campaign to make it sound like the devil himself. And there's so many medical properties and so much we don't really know about the plant, still discovering, that's good for humans. The example I give real quick is, my mom, who was terminal through cancer, she had a hard time just even keeping weight on and eating, right? No appetite. And everything that the doctors were prescribing just wasn't cutting it for her. So the cannabis, as a good son, I had to do what's right for my mom, regardless of what the law said.
Yeah.
And I got it for her and the other thing too about it, why I want to legalize and regulate, because there's a quality control issue. There really is. There's stuff that's laced out there with other things. You don't know the source, right? You don't know that's really just pure cannabis. I'm interested only in cannabis, not all the other stuff. I don't care about that. But yeah, it helped her, keep weight on. Appetite was good. So there are a lot of benefits to it. And it gave her somewhat of a quality of life before the end.
Well, I'm sorry. That's a good story, but of course, I'm sorry to hear about your loss there. Before we get into more things, because I feel like we could just already start getting into a ton of this stuff, catch everyone up on, for people who don't know you, give us your bio, your history, before you decided to run for governor. But are you a Wisconsin boy? Were you raised around here? Kind of fill us in, catch us up a little.
Yeah, 100% born and raised in Wisconsin. Yeah, so homeschooled, only child, asthmatic for a long time, was vaccine damaged early on at age 5.5. So I do suffer from mild muscular Tourette's. So you might catch it every now and I've had some people comment on that, wondering what was going on, and then I address it. And then they feel really bad that they ask. I've been dealing with all my life. I've been bullied for it early on when people didn't understand what it was about. So it doesn't bother me anymore. It's just who I am. I've accepted it. But sometimes people, it's better now because there's more awareness to what Tourette syndrome is. So born and raised business owner, I'm a doer. That's what it comes down to. I don't like to talk a whole lot. I actually have been a quiet kind of, growing up young guy, quiet, shy. I kind of listen, sit back, observe, I love strategy games. I love chess and Risk and all these other ones. I love board games. Stratego, that's another one. My dad won't play me Stratego anymore because I whoop him.
I can't believe, I was literally just going to ask you. There's this game I played when I was a kid, and I loved it so much, and it was called Stratego. And I'm like, there's nobody that actually knows what that is. Like, I'm the only one that has ever played it. So that is awesome.
What's crazy about that game, though, is the one from way back. You remember the lower numbers were the more powerful ones.
Yeah.
Number 1. Now they've reversed it. Number 10 is the most. It confused me. Yeah, that's a new one that's out. That's how the rule is in the rules. I know. I was like, what? This is not the original.
Yeah. I'm going to have to, oh man, I don't have that game anymore. I'm going to have to get it, but I don't know. I'm going to see if I can find the old version.
Yeah, it's hard to find, and it's expensive.
Well, that's probably why it's, expensive. It's hard to find. Yeah. So you, high school, where'd you go? Or you said you were homeschooled. My wife was homeschooled. I know a lot of people that were, and everyone that I asked that has been homeschooled, would you prefer, looking back, maybe go to public school? And I have yet to hear one say, yep.
No, actually not. Looking back, the wisdom and insight that my parents, specifically my father, had in this matter, because my dad worked for MPS, Milwaukee Public School System, for close to almost 30 years. So he was in it. He saw kind of how things were already turning even back then with the culture and the curriculum, right? And he just didn't want me to be part of that. It had nothing to do with sheltering. I don't know why people think homeschoolers there is some sheltering out there. I don't believe in that. I do believe in exposure to some things because, a lot of homeschoolers get out in the real world and they're shocked, just completely shocked, by what they have to deal with. That's what I read. So homeschooled all the way to college. College, I went to Ottawa University, double major in business and IT with a minor in marketing. So a big programmer, database guy. But again, I like to so I'm a problem solver. I see a problem, I look for the best solution to fix it, right? And that's really what brought me into politics, because there's just so many problems that kept stacking. And I know where the root cause of a lot of these are stemming from, but they're just not being addressed. And the example I give is we look at cancer, right? All the decades of research when it comes to cancer. Have we made some progress in managing symptoms of cancer? Sure, we have. But have we actually found a cure or cured cancer? No, not that they're telling us. Do we believe that there might be a cure for cancer already made out there? I do, but there's no money in cures. There's billions of dollars that are made every year just managing symptoms, not actually curing anything, right? And that's what I don't like, because they're using humanity as pawns and the suffering of humanity for the expense of profit and dollars.
So I'm just going to take a guess here that if there was a cure for cancer and let's say a president knew, they would want to make sure that they did that, right? Because they would be the president that, like JFK, I saw in your 15 things, you collect memorabilia, and
Yeah.
he had started the whole thing to first people on the moon, right? I would kind of feel like they would, if you were a president, you would want to be the one to say, yeah, under my watch, we cured cancer. So I don't know if that is a thing, which I don't know anything about this. I never looked into it. But it must be kind of being sheltered from some of the people, or being held from some of the people, if that were true, wouldn't you think?
Well, philosophically, there already is technically a cure for cancer. What I mean by that is the government and media, they don't spend enough time on what it means to be actually healthy, right? There's a lot of people that go around every day thinking they're healthy. So we don't really address diet, exercise, immune response, all these things, right? We just go to, hey, is there a magic pill out there? And we look to big pharma to come up with a pill that will save everyone. But what I realized growing up, and what my dad taught me, is there's no such thing as a shortcut. You have to put in the work. Every day you have to put in the work on yourself and what you want to achieve. That's how you really get, meaningful results, right? But they've convinced everyone that, hey, you got a headache for this, you hurt here, right? You have suffer from that. Just get this pill, you're good. They never address anything else. That was my biggest thing too, with the coronavirus and the whole COVID-19 this last year, is early on, just for a moment, they said, vitamin C and zinc, yeah, that could actually help. But eventually they pushed that to the side, and the whole ship turned to the vaccine. The vaccine was the only way out of this. Where I myself went through this whole pandemic, just fine with my protocol of vitamin C, zinc, exercise, eating healthy, good sleep, right? I'm here, I'm fine, no problems, right? So thank God. But that's something I want to teach people, but they're just waiting for this vaccine, which is untested and still in experimental phase. Makes no sense to me.
So, yeah, so we'll get into the vaccine, but just real,
Yeah.
I love how you just, threw in, but didn't even get into it. You're incredibly humble. Oh yeah, I got a double major, and I don't know all this fancy stuff.
Oh,
But you were so humble about it. I just love it. Like, yeah, I did, but let's gloss over that and move on. I'm just saying that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm the opposite of you in the health wise. I am not the poster child for good health. So yeah, no, I'll take pills all day just because I don't really want to do all those things you said. Wake up and eat a banana and exercise and do all those right things. So yeah, no, Big Pharma loves me. Big time.
Where this really stems from, Ben, is early on. I had severe asthma, and I was on the inhalers, right? I had the nebulizer. At age 6 years old, I knew to actually put my own nebulizer and prescription medicine in it for myself. That's how often I had to do this. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? And so I would have to, and then make me jittery, and I would inhale this stuff. It was just terrible. And so going on into my teen years, I didn't like it. I didn't like having to carry an inhaler in my pocket every time I was trying to play football or got, with some grass, right? Kind of like the hay, grass allergic stuff. You have to always use an inhaler. I got tired of that. I hated it. So when I started reading books and learning about, okay, how do you overcome allergies? Why is your body having a reaction this way? What's going on with the immune system, right? I really dive deep into how the body works and functions. It's just like a car. What you put in it is what you get out of it. And so I did a complete diet change along with my family. We were juicing carrots and celery. We were drinking that 3 times a day. I think we went through like 50 pounds of carrots a week. It was insane.
Oh,
yeah. And we went more to like a vegetarian, raw organic diet. And I tell you, Ben, within 6 months, all my entire asthma went away.
what?
Gone. And I haven't had it ever since, because asthma is an inflammatory response. Once you control the root inflammation part of it, it goes away for most people.
That's what my doctor tells me about gout, because I suffer from gout. I love how suffer is the word that they use. So I take a pill just to not get it. Again, Big Pharma loves me. And they're like, if you just drank a lot of water, didn't drink as much beer, and exercised, and don't eat as much meat, and you wouldn't ever need this. And or I keep doing that and just give me a pill. So again, I'm a terrible example of that stuff, because everybody wants to kind of do those things, but I don't know, for some reason I don't. It's stupid. I'm like the dumbest person in the world, because I know how to fix it. I just don't.
Oh.
But I should. Yeah, looking at you. All right, so so that's asthma. That's crazy that you don't even have that anymore. I didn't know that was a thing. I just assumed that when you have asthma, you just have it for the rest of your life, right? So now you are leading up to running for governor, or in this bio, this history here. What was between where we left off and before you decided to run for governor? What was in there? You have small business, correct?
Yeah, so I had a corporate life, so a good amount of years as a marketing manager for corporations, good size, medium size, and I liked staying with the medium to smaller size, because I always had kind of more of a intimate family feel, right? You had more control over things. You could really see an impact of what you were doing. You didn't get lost in the shuffle in these multinational billion-dollar corporations. But eventually, I kind of got tired of corporate life, and I said, you know what? There's an opportunity that was given to me to go out on my own and really start my own digital marketing agency, and that's what I did. I did that about 8 years ago, and things were amazing leading up to the entire world shutting down. Everyone took a hit after the global lockdowns. But when again, I'm a finance economics, very much into Wall Street. Right, got a lot of contacts there on Wall Street. And I've been following the financial environment since the 2008 market crash. And if you're familiar with 2008, have you ever seen the movie The Big Short, Ben?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Okay, great, perfect. Whenever a lot of people haven't, so it's good that you have the reference point on that. Yeah, I don't know why. Some people I talk to interviews, I haven't seen that yet. No, you should. It's really good.
I think. Hold on. I think it was on. Where did I see it? I think it was on like oh shoot. Now I can't remember, because it was streaming somewhere recently.
Amazon has it for rent and stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, but what he goes through is everything that led up to the 2008 financial collapse, and how nothing was fixed after that. And that's the truth. There's one person that went to jail. He was a low-level guy. He was like the patsy guy for it all. And no one went to jail for it. And the reality of it is, big banks, the Federal Reserve, colluding with big government, the federal government, were the real reason why the 2008 financial crash even happened in the first place, right? But they shifted the blame, like they always do, to poor people. The poor people are the reason that this all happened, while these guys got bailed out. And then, of course, the Democrats love to enter in on that. Oh, well, we're going to help you. And then they create all these extra programs that no one can pay for. They have to borrow, and right? So on and on it goes, all the way up to September of 2019. And something broke within the financial banking lending system one more time, just like it did prior to 2008. It's called the repo market. And that was the big signal. But it was so bad that the Federal Reserve was pumping in hundreds of billions of dollars a day to these hedge funds and these banks, taking this terrible zombie collateral off their hands and keeping them solvent, right? And I said to my inner circle, I said, wow, this is so big, and it's global. Remember, the banking system's global. We have to remember that there's going to be some sort of major event to cover for the trillions and trillions of dollars that they're going to have to print out of thin air and give it to everyone, right? And lo and behold, the narrative of coronavirus began right in December. You remember how that played out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew this was a fairly big cover for a big financial situation here. And then we got into lockdowns. Then we saw, okay, I was fine locking down for 2 weeks, because I wasn't sure, I've been following these terrible, evil, corrupt people for 12, 13 years. And I know nothing is beneath them to unleash on humanity. So I was concerned that this was really some sort of real bioweapon, right? Something that was pretty bad. And I'm like, ooh, okay, let's see what this is. A lot of praying. Hopefully it's not bad. Well, I have contacts within certain healthcare industries, and I realized the data coming from there wasn't the data the media was showing. Hey, we have millions dropping dead, right? How they played it out. You remember that, Ben? How bad it was. I'm like, something's off here, because I study analytics. I study data for a living in marketing, so I understand data sets, trends. I'm like, this is not adding up. They're lying here about this, right? And you saw quickly they moved away from the death count to the case count, which is something totally different, right? Cases were not deaths, but everyone was fixated on the case number. So once I saw that, okay, we're fine, we should start opening back up, let's get our economy going, they weren't doing that. The only one that actually handled the situation, in my opinion, perfectly is Christie in South Dakota. She handled it beautifully. And once I saw that Tony Evers was hell-bent on hurting Wisconsin, like just keeping it down, if it wasn't for the Supreme Court, not that I think they're the greatest thing ever, because they still haven't ruled on the illegal orders here, but the Supreme Court at least made the right decision to not force the lockdown anymore. Sure. Because I believe Tony Evers would still have kept Wisconsin in 100% lockdown, for months and months, destroying everything and everyone.
If you were the governor, obviously you're a candidate for governor in 2022, but if you were the governor, or since this started during Evers' term, or when this pandemic started, what would you have done?
Yeah, it's a great question, because actually, if you go way back to when I started my campaign, you have history record of everything that I was saying while we were in it. So I was leading, in a very similar way to Christie at the same time. So like I said, 2 weeks, let's get a handle of what this really is. Let's understand what the protocol, should be to help, protect our citizens. But I'm a firm believer in standing by the Constitution and the freedoms of the individual. So government should never infringe on the individual liberty and freedom of Americans, right? You as an adult have the right to decide how you want to live your life and handle the situation. We can offer guidelines and protocols, but we should never force you, okay? Unless it's something absolutely catastrophic. I mean, I'm talking death rate of 30%. I mean, but at that point, you could just look outside your door and you could see it everywhere. Right. Ambulances, people on the ground. It would be so obvious if you just use your eyes, right? But it wasn't there. So at some point, about 3 weeks, I'm like, okay, working with, healthcare data, and people weren't lying, number one. See, the media, everything goes through the media. It's filtered through the media, and they give you this really crazy lens on the world. And for some reason, people keep watching the TV and media and think this is truth. It's not truth. So then we got into the mask. You got to wear a mask. The right one, then the wrong one, then the cloth ones, then the double, and then put a fan on your head, spin around 3 times, and you're safe. Okay? But this is Dr. Fauci, the expert, who says, trust my science. Okay? But you have so many other doctors and third-party researchers that are looking at this, they're like, this is insane. This is not it, right? You look at the military and a real biohazard, what do they have? Full bio, hazmat suits on, oxygen. I mean, that's how you really protect yourself from something that lethal. Not the coronavirus. So I would start opening back the economy back up slowly but surely, and get everyone back up and running, and let everyone decide how they want to be safe, to take cautionary measures for themselves, not for me to force it upon them, like what was done to us.
What do you think Evers should be doing right now? Like today, right now, what should he do?
Take off, lift all bans, 100% open up, remove and stop his illegal executive orders, right? Tell stores that these mask things are, mask requirements unnecessary. There's misinformation right now here. People should be following Kyle Yudes from Constitutional Law Group, because people think that private businesses open to the public have the right to force you to wear a mask. This is not correct. If you are open to the public, okay, for business, there are so many other laws that discrimination laws that you have to look for, right? This is no different than back in the day when the African Americans said, hey, you have to use this separate bathroom, or you have to sit back in the back of the bus. Just because I'm not going to wear a mask, you're going to treat me differently. You're not going to let me into your facility, right? The other thing is some people can't even wear the mask. Post-asthmatics, PTSD. I get a lot of people write into me, hey, I have anxiety. Having this lack of oxygen with this thing over my face, it's difficult. It's bringing flashbacks for me. There's a lot of situations, right? But we treat everyone the same, and that's wrong. So yeah, there's a lot of people that have some pending lawsuits, right, against different companies. I know someone out in Washington against Sam's Club fighting this. It's illegal, and they're going to settle with her most likely because they know it's illegal.
What?
But no one knows their rights. No one knows the law. Therefore, everyone just shuts up and complies. And that's what the statist government wants you to do.
Well, first of all, I'm not, encouraging anyone to, not follow policy or a thing or something. I don't know. But I did not know that. So you're saying that a small business, let's say a restaurant, right? Small business, private business, there's a mask mandate and it says must be worn. They can't enforce that, as in the small business themselves. They
No,
can't.
because a mask is categorized under a medical device, right?
Yeah.
So unless you're a medical profession, a doctor, they're suggesting that you should do this. I'm saying if you go to the hospital right now, if they wearing a mask, that's fine, that's different.
Yeah.
The only where this rule doesn't apply is actually, believe it or not, 501(c). So your church can actually force you to wear a mask, and you have to wear a mask. That's where it actually doesn't apply. It's weird. And then also the hospital. But anywhere else, no. They can suggest it. They can say, we'd love you to, but they can't make you, and they definitely can't turn you away if you don't. So
we have a question on here, and there's been several, so I apologize. I can't get to all of these. Some are a little longer, so it takes me a while to read it. And I don't want to read all of those because then I'm not paying attention to you. But here's one. Where do you stand on dairy farming, small and large farms? I'm not 100% sure what that question is, other than, where do you stand on this?
I'm super, in my 15 questions, I love gardening as a kid, right? So I'm very much into farming and good food, organic food. My father was raised on a dairy farm in Stevens Point when he was growing up. So I have a real respect and love for the small and medium-sized farmers. I think we have become out of balance with mega corporation farming, right? Misuse of land and animals, right? So yeah, I support the dairy farmer. I do think, though, I'm a market analysis guy, and for some time now, consumers have been shifting away from milk. There's so many other milk alternative products out there now that people think is better for them or enjoy, right? Almond milk, coconut, right? And the dairy farmer has kind of been stagnant. They haven't gotten with the times. They haven't updated their models. They keep trying to just force milk and dairy, even though the market demand isn't there so much. So we have a dairy farm that's unable to keep selling its milk at prices that are profitable that keep them afloat. So you always have this occurring deficit. And then before you know it, all these farmers keep dropping off and go out of business, right? So what I would like to do is I would like to take a look at the dairy farming as a whole and try to diversify, really get in and help them diversify if it needs some cash infusions, get these farms to diversify into new products, new things, right? That the market is wanting, that they can become profitable. I'd rather have them stay in business than shut their doors altogether. Because if you're in farming, whether it's dairy, right, you understand the land, you understand how to do this. It's not like, it's a skill set, right? I don't want to lose that skill set altogether out of Wisconsin just because you can't sell milk well anymore. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. So we're already at about 30 minutes, so I wanted to get to a few more things here. One, $15 minimum wage. Where do you stand on that? Is that something that we should be looking into? Stay at $7, I think it's $7.50, or is there a happy balance somewhere in between?
So the misnomer with the minimum wage is, first of all, the federal government can suggest whatever they want, but the states really ultimately decide what they're going to implement, right? Yep. I am not for, and listen closely, I know that there are Democrats that ever watch this, right? I'm not for the $15 an hour minimum wage because it sounds great in theory, but all it does is actually hurt you. And it's already been proven time and time again. The only companies that can maybe come close to affording to pay that for a while, and they only do it for a while, is the big guys, the Amazon, the Walmarts, the mega corporations, right? All other companies, small mom and pop stores, medium size, that's going to really hurt their bottom line. And what is a business in business for? To make profit. That's what it does. So if they're losing money, the first thing they do is they cut their workforce. They cut the people, everywhere they can, and they automate. They look to automation. I mean, there's this little grocery store by me, Sundays. They've already put, they never had this before. They put in 3 checkout lanes, self-checkout. They never had self-checkout before. Now they have, right? So you have McDonald's, self-checkout. Is there going to be any humans that even work at these places anymore? I don't know. So the more you demand a higher wage, the more that gets cut. Again, that's just a symptom of the root cause. The root cause to why all this is happening is you have a banking cartel, Federal Reserve, that keeps expanding the dollar supply through excessive trillions in dollars of new money printed, right? When you have this inflation of currency, the cost of living gets harder, but the wages of labor never go up with it, right? So you have these people in these lower income categories that can't survive because the company can't, McDonald's can't justify upping your wage, right, to
Right.
$15, $20 an hour. They just can't.
Yeah.
So that's the dilemma. We need to fix our money before we can fix all these other problems.
Well, speaking of money, what are your thoughts on recently we just had a $1.9 trillion relief? No,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. Right.
Right.
So and a lot of people, got money. We certainly did as a family, which, we're not sending it back. We like that. But obviously it adds to our debt, and I don't know, at $28-30 trillion now, and I know they're talking about even potentially more. This is more of a national level type thing. But I'm just curious, since you are talking about a lot of this banking stuff, where are you on this? Is this a good idea?
No, it's a national thing, but it's also a local thing as well. Okay, what happens here? Because a lot of people don't know how to get out of this dollar. The dollar is rapidly dying in a very real sense, and we've enjoyed what's called the world reserve currency for much too long. We don't deserve that anymore because we don't produce and manufacture like America used to do. All we do is borrow to spend and consume, right? And so actually by having a very strong dollar in those circumstances, other countries have to bear the burden of importing and subsidizing our consumption. And we know the nation that's done that the most is China. China is doing that. But at some point, China's going to say, this isn't working for us. We're going to either cut you off altogether or we're going to turn down the faucet. And in doing so, there's going to be a lot of gaps in supply that people are used to buying at retail stores. And what they can get their hands on is going to be much, much more expensive, maybe 2 or 3 times. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to get back to an honest monetary system as defined by the Constitution. Actually, that's written into the Constitution that we must have an honest monetary system backed by, believe it or not, gold and silver. And the banks would have you believe that gold and silver are relics, yet they work to acquire this in mass for some reason. Meanwhile, they give you the little paper debt notes to use, right? Mm-hmm. And so Ron Paul, have you ever studied Ron Paul and what he talks about? He has the right idea. What he was trying to say a long time ago is we need to have a new parallel monetary system running next to the dollar, an honest one. Because what's going to happen is when the dollar falls off the cliff, and it will, it's not a matter of if, but when, just like it's happened to Venezuela, USSR, right? All these different other countries that tried to do this. Zimbabwe, we know about Zimbabwe. If there's nothing else there for people to go into to transact, that's where you have a massive economic disaster. Real lives being lost, real devastation, real poverty. But if you can have people just step over, transition to the other monetary system, move their asset and wealth into that, we can resume business as normal with very little interruption. It's a beautiful thing. And so that's why people were very attracted to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, right? Yep. Some people still do buy gold and silver. That's great. These are alternative forms of money or currency that's outside of the dollar because the Federal Reserve is only going to keep printing. The government, they will only keep printing. It's guaranteed, especially if Joe Biden has his way with the Green New Deal. It's going to be trillions upon trillions of dollars that they're going to use to try and finance this.
Yeah, and China's going to keep buying more. As a governor in Wisconsin, because I don't really know what role the governor would play in something like this, or a governor of a state. So where does this kind of come to a head if everything that you're talking about? You're elected governor a couple of years, you're the governor. What are you able to do to address some of these things? Are you able to, as a governor of a state, be able to address some of these things?
Yeah, I can play defense. I can be on defensive a lot, right? But I can't really go on the offensive when it comes to the monetary system because, unfortunately, that's only controlled at the federal level. But state budgets are going to get squeezed by this. And this is why, if you really get down into it, this is why the federal government is doing backdoor ballots of states already. They're giving all these different programs, disguising them as other programs. Here's more money for schools, other things here and there. It's to help plug the deficits in a lot of these state and city budgets because all we can do is tax. We can't print money, so we have to tax. And you're already seeing this happen. So Milwaukee, it's terrible. Their property tax is going through the roof. I know Tony Evers in his budget plan, right? More room for taxes, higher taxes. And it's always, we got to pay for the schools. That's the cover. We need better schools, even though schools have been shut down for almost the entire year.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, and the teachers union in Milwaukee, they still don't want to go back to school. They're like, well, maybe we'll open, for a month before summer vacation. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm so fed up. This is why I got into it running for governor. I'm so fed up, and there are millions of people in Wisconsin that are equally as fed up with the establishment, the status quo politicians that won't talk about this. We are done, and I'm here to correct all of it.
Perfect. I love it. So that actually, the last three things I wanted to ask you were, which I think you just kind of touched on. I wrote down, so a lot of, well, right now you're the only, as far as I know, Republican that has announced that they're running for governor. We assume that somebody probably will. So if there is a conservative or a Republican that is listening right now, why should they consider making up their mind right now? And it doesn't matter who else would be announcing, here's why you should vote for me if you are specifically a conservative and or Republican.
Yeah, great question.
Yes.
If you're a conservative Republican, here's why you should vote for me. Because the Republican Party, the establishment, I'm going to say the higher level, right? They're guys, men and women that they've run in these top tier positions, right? Okay, have had years to fix critical issues within the state, and have done some. They've kind of done a little bit, right? But the big thing I want to call people's attention to here is in Wisconsin, from 2011 to 2018, we had a trifecta. What a trifecta is we had a Republican governor, we have a Republican majority in the Assembly and the Senate. That's a free, clear road all the way in for whatever you want to get done, right? We didn't fix a critical thing, abortion, for pro-life. I talk to pro-life people all the time, right? We didn't end abortion. I mean, thousands of kids in Wisconsin are getting murdered, right, every year. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible black mark on humanity that shouldn't be the case. But they didn't do it. They kept deferring, saying, hey, no, the Supreme Court, Roe versus Wade, they already ruled on it. There's nothing we can do about it, yada, yada, yada. Okay. There's so many critical topics and issues. Another thing, where were all these quote, establishment candidates during the lockdown? Why weren't they using their platform, their voices, getting out there with the people, saying enough of this, no lockdowns, knock down Tony Everett's illegal emergency mandate. He's been doing this for a year. We've been under emergency order for about a year now, okay? Nowhere to be found. They all were followers. They were following the narrative, wearing their mask, going along with it. There was no one else standing against it for the Constitution, for individual liberties like I was. That's the reason why you should vote for me, because my actions speak louder than my rhetoric.
So most of the people that are going to vote for you, I'm assuming, are going to be Republicans or conservatives. That's just going on a limb here. But in every race, there's always a portion, depends, I suppose, or a certain percentage, sometimes very, very small percentage, sometimes a little bit more of in this case, it would be a liberal or a Democrat. What would you tell them as to why you should consider voting for me? Or is this one of those, hey, if you like Tony Evers, don't vote for me? Or if you want, then don't. I mean, or is there anything that you could say you should consider me, even though I'm not in your party or who you normally vote for, but you may want to consider me because of this? What would this be?
I've been trying to get into inside the mindset of the Democrat.
Good luck.
Yeah. Let's take the radical left off the table and just talk about maybe normal Democrats that have some critical thinking, right?
Sure.
There are some very big things that you might want to consider voting me for. Again, I believe I'll be the only Republican candidate that actually will do something with cannabis, pro-cannabis. So if that's important to you. The other thing is, I say, like I said, what's important to you? Do you like security? Do you like having a good job? Do you like being able to send your kids to a good school? I'm for all these things. I actually know how to get it done, right? I care for humanity, number one, regardless of Republican or Democrat. So homeless. I want to solve homelessness once and for all. Democrats try to play it off like, oh, we care about the poor people and all this stuff, right? But they do it in form of welfare benefits. I'm here to empower the individual. I'm here to show you how to fish, not just give you a fish, but how to fish for yourself,
Good
right?
analogy.
I
Sure.
want to build the infrastructure and the system, a way out of poverty, a way out of homelessness. Here's the steps. It's not good enough to just say, for example, homelessness, right? Let's do tiny homes. I get a lot of great people telling, hey, look at over here. They're doing amazing tiny homes where you have shelter, right? That's one thing. We get them out of the cold, number one. You can't really prosper if you're freezing to death, right? Make sure you have access to food you can eat. But now here's the path in this program that you have to do. Do you need schooling? Do you need skill sets? Have some internships, have some programs set up with other companies, whatever you want to do, mechanical, whatever you need to do, right? To find that job, internship programs to get going in there and get them going to where they can finally get their own apartment, pay rent, pay taxes, and get them on their 2 feet running again. If they have drug addiction, have the program to help them get sober, right? But have it all in this nice one package where they can go step to step to step. And if you don't, here's the thing, if people don't want to get better, if they have no reason, then you're out of the program. It's not our job to babysit you. If you have no desire to help yourself, then be gone. That's not our job. That's not the job of the taxpayer to do. That's life. See, Americans are so out of touch with reality. We've had it so good for so long. We don't really understand how reality works anymore. And we just like to be babied from cradle to grave. I was not babied. I never want to be babied, because who I am today is because of the adversity I had to go through. And that's why I'm going to lead Wisconsin back to greatness.
I think there's a lot of things that you're talking about that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Not just our show, but I've gone and I've looked at some of your messages on Facebook or your video things, and so far, are you getting positive response? Or maybe even a better question would be, what's the pushback that you're getting right now?
No, the people, the voters, the citizens, they love my campaign. They love what I stand for. They love who I am as a candidate. That's really, truly the sentiment that's coming through. Democrats, again, the ones I can talk to and debate with and reason with, in logic, they say, you know what, Jonathan, I'm voting for you. So I can pull Democrat vote too, okay? Yeah. It's working within the establishment party line. Again, I'm running as a Republican, okay? I do lean more libertarian in my ideology and stuff. But Republican is because we're forced in this two-party system. I think we all know it. We hate it, but you have to, unfortunately, love labels. Yeah. They want you to pick a label, So because I'm Republican doesn't mean that I'm not for Democrats or that I can't help Democrats as individuals. No, of course not. I'm here to help all people. I'm born and raised in Wisconsin, Wisconsin first. Even down to my economics and business, I want to help elevate people who've lived here all their lives, born and raised, help them get their businesses going and strong. I don't want foreign companies coming into Wisconsin, implanting, using our resources, drawing down on our fresh water. I don't want that. I'm going to protect the ecosystem. I'm going to protect, the forest, the wildlife, preserve, right? I'm for hunters. Even though I don't really hunt myself, I'm for hunting. I understand, there's a $2 billion industry behind it. There's a balance between the deer and the gray wolf. I understand these things because I have hunters speaking to me all the time, and I listen. I sit and I spend hours a day listening to real people all over Wisconsin give me input on what's going on in their county. That's how I lead.
I agree with you on the hunting thing. I've never hunted in my life. It sounds terrible. I mean, why would anybody do this? Like, just get up early and do all these things and then just sit out there forever and see a deer, and then you got a gutter or something that's disgusting. I can do all that stuff in a video game, but like in real life, in RL, no thank you. Having said that, please go and kill these things so, we don't get diseases and I don't hit it with my car. I want to wrap up with one thing here, and that is, so your 15 things you might not know about me is on our website, DrydenWire.com, and one of those, number 10, says, your favorite movie series is The Lord of the Rings. So I want to play or ask you a quick question, not really a game, but Mount Rushmore, right? So what is your Mount Rushmore of movie or a TV series, like a movie series or a TV series? If you have Lord of the Rings, that's your number one. But again, Mount Rushmore, it's not in order. But give me 3 more that you like.
So when you sent that questionnaire over to me, I don't know why it happens every time. Band of Brothers always slips my mind.
That's a brilliant one.
Band of Brothers, the original right there, is one of the top, with me. I love Lord of the Rings because how it was shot. I hate CGI. I just can't stand it. Yeah. I love the way we filmed the film back in the old days, right? That's true film to me. Top Gun, it's maybe cheesy people but it's the fighter jets, it's just something about Top Gun.
It's got to be the high fives in the, that song playing beach volleyball. That's classic.
And then honestly, a more sobering one, Schindler's List. Schindler's List is something that you always have to watch periodically because it's a good reminder of how evil humanity can go, right, unchecked. You never seen Schindler's List?
No, because I heard it's just gonna, make you cry. I'm like, well, why do I want to do that?
I like a movie that can move me emotionally. I'm kind of a stone sometimes, inside heart, but something that can move me emotionally, I really like. So yeah, Schindler's List is a must have on there for you.
Jonathan, thanks so much. Man, we have seriously, we could talk forever. We didn't even get to a lot of your other bio stuff. I had other things written down. We've got some time before the election, so man, you're welcome back anytime you want to come on.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. I'd love to come back on.
Yeah. Any final words for our listeners?
Yeah, I want to say as we get further into the election cycle here, I'm sure other candidates will pop on. I want you, the voter, to ask them the tough questions. Don't accept these little 1-minute sound bites. dig deep and see if they really are presenting real solutions, right? Another thing is when people come on my Facebook page, I personally am responding to you, whether it's on the comments. I know we're growing pretty fast and it's hard to keep up with all the comments, but if you send me a private inbox message, I do get back to you. It may take me a little while, but I respond. If I haven't already answered already, that's the other thing. So check my videos, check my website. If the answer is there, that's the answer. It's not going to change if you message me, right? But if you have something else or want to talk deeper, I do respond to you. I think that's important. And I think people really love that I'm right there responding to them, sometimes within a few hours.
Yeah, I went on there yesterday, I think it was, to like the page, and I think you were like at 40,000 or more or something already, I thought.
But we already passed 41,000 Wisconsinite followers, but in the last 28 days, my posts have reached 1.2 million people.
Oh, you said that earlier? That's crazy.
Yeah, we've got 500,000 people interact with my posts.
Nice.
So,
and by the way, so people can go to, I had it, wichmannforgovernor.com. I think that's right. For the website, what is your Facebook?
So my social media handle across, if I'm on it, it'll be at Vote Wichmann. It's WICHMANN, Vote Wichmann all together. But I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Parler, MeWe, Rumble.
Yeah, I think you're making some of these up.
No,
I've never heard of a couple of those.
Oh, Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm trying to do TikTok. I don't know how to use TikTok so well. You know, I don't dance well, so.
My daughter, Grace, she's 22, and she had a TikTok video that went viral. I mean, it was nuts. It was like 500,000 people in a couple of days or something. Because she went and cleaned her mom's house, and it's a long story, but it was so cool. Man, you and I could just talk forever. I absolutely loved this.
Thank you so much. Italian, Ben, so I can talk forever, yeah.
Oh, this is great. Thank you so very much. Hopefully we'll be doing this soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Special thank you to our guest today, small business owner and Republican conservative candidate for Wisconsin Governor, Jonathan Wichmann. And thank all of you for watching. I'll be back on Tuesday with another Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy show. And next Thursday, local businessman and entrepreneur Tim Fry will be jumping on for a chat. So until then, stay safe, stay positive, and as always, have a blessed day.